Oh boy, this one's gonna be fun to talk about. Hi, if you're new here, I'm 12 Gauge Gotcha. If you're not, welcome back to my channel. I don't normally make videos like this, so bear with me if I'm not the best at explaining things, or if there's certain details I can't give out, or have to explain vaguely for personal reasons. But this video is going to be about the time I was groped by a member of my family. If you're not comfortable with these kinds of topics, I completely understand if you're not up to watch it. Your peace is important to me, and with that, let's trauma dump. So for a little bit of context, this incident happened on my mom's side of the family, May 2021. I had recently turned 14 and was at a family member's home for a scheduled bi-weekly visit. I stayed there every other weekend per court order for the past 9 years leading up to that point. But to avoid the risk of my family seeing this video and giving me shit for it, they are a very close-knit Hispanic Christian family. I won't explicitly state who it was. All I can give is that he was a family elder. This man was very controlling. He tried his hardest to dictate what I wore, what I did with my life, even outside of his house. And around the age of 13, I gave up on religion. Not right away, but over time. I had been taught to be Christian by my mother's family. And the thing about that is I had never been given a real reason to believe in miracles. Enough bad things happened to me and the people around me that I took a moment and thought to myself, why do I believe in someone who lets these things happen to me? Now, I might get a lot of shit for that alone, but I'm just gonna say this right now. Any comments preaching reasons I shouldn't have abandoned my faith will be deleted, or arguing my reasons for leaving Christianity. Separating myself from the church was difficult enough as it was, not because I felt a sense of community with them. I actually felt quite distant from them already. But I will go further into detail about my religious trauma in another video. Point is, I had long felt no connection to Christ. Therefore, I lacked connection to my family. This man who hurt me tried to rebuild that connection by bringing me back towards religion. He would make me take home scraps of paper with Bible verses written on them. I don't remember most of them, but the one I do remember, I'm not sure if it was a Bible verse, but it said, "You will reap what you sow," which basically means you get what you give. My dad's mother agreed that it didn't sit right with her when I told her about it. I don't remember if she ever spoke to him about it. I don't remember if it stopped or if it got worse. But I do remember that in January of 2021, which was before I turned 14, I found a legal document online detailing a custody battle that took place after my mom passed away. For my own privacy, I can't give out any further details other than the custody dispute was initiated by the man who later laid his hands on me. His goal was to take full custody of my dad, stuck in this delusion that he could better care for me than my father. Let this be an example of how far he was willing to go to keep me under his control. I was 5 years old, and he went to his county's courthouse to begin the process only days after my mother died. Back to May 2021, I was getting ready to move away from my hometown with my dad, and this person wanted to know if I wanted to continue seeing him in the family after I moved, telling me almost as if in desperation that he'd make the hour drive to come get me. And that was what began to scare me. I already knew from the documents I found what he had done 9 years prior to that point, but I didn't refuse, nor did I agree. I couldn't bring myself to say no. I didn't have the heart to do so. but more than that, I was scared that he would try to take my dad and his family back to court to renew the custody agreement, which he eventually brought up. But I also couldn't bring myself to say yes. I couldn't stand the thought of subjecting myself to God knows how many more years of being at his mercy, under his control, forced into religion I didn't believe. I remember so vividly standing at the top of the stairs while he once again tried to ask me if I wanted to keep my visitation schedule, stating it so matter-of-factly that it was a court order for me to see them. He didn't know that I already knew what he'd done, so I am assuming he hoped that knowing about the court order would persuade me. On one particular day, his wife would go across the street to talk to her friend who lived there, leaving him and myself alone in the living room. After maybe a few minutes, he stood up and went to his room, telling me that in a minute he wanted to talk to me in there, and he'd call me when he was ready. I'm not sure what I expected. I figured he wanted to beg me not to leave him, or that he was going to write down another Bible verse to send me home with. But that was not the case. A few more minutes passed, and he called me into his room. The walls were crimson, with matching curtains. They were always drawn shut, but this time felt different. The room somehow felt darker, colder even. I walked in, but I didn't see him until he came out from behind the door and shut it behind me. To refrain from triggering anyone who may have stuck around, I'll try not to go into too much detail, but when he had me restrained, touching me in various places, everything about that memory is just black. There is nothing except for the sound of him mumbling and crying for me not to leave him, saying things like, Jesus doesn't want me to leave, my mother would want me to stay, things like that. Everything else from there until I got home that Sunday is just gone. I don't remember any of it. I don't remember what was said when he let me out of that room, if anything was said at all. All I remember was getting home, sitting on my bed and staring at the wall. I didn't cry. I sat still for I don't even know how long. But I remember that I felt disgusting. I felt this aggressive itch all over, like there were bugs under my skin, when I thought about what happened. I felt nauseous. I felt gross and unclean, even after I showered and scrubbed my skin so hard it hurt. I didn't tell anyone for a very long time. Even for a while, I tried to convince myself that it didn't happen. Until freshman year, when I began seeing my then boyfriend outside of school. I was 15 by then, and the crawling feeling under my skin came back every time we were done. Never in the middle of it. Shortly before I turned 17 was when I started telling people. I accepted that it happened, and that the only way to stop being afraid of intimacy was to confront the root of my fear. I first told a few of my friends, then the administrator in the mental hospital I was admitted to in January 2024. Then my dad. Since then, the person who did those things to me has not been allowed around me. To this day, I don't even let my closest friends touch me without my permission or unless I initiate it first. Because I was not willing to make a statement at the police station, the man who hurt me has not faced any consequences for his actions. I can't tell anyone in the family because of how close-knit they are. My main worry is that they won't believe me. Some may even turn against me. And those that do believe me and take my side will be ostracized. And I can't be the reason my family tears itself apart. So at this rate, the only compensation I may ever get for what was done to me might be the inheritance, if there is even a will. And to be completely honest, I have accepted at this point that I may just have to take this story to my grave without ever taking action against that man. I know this isn't an ideal ending. I know most people would want an ending where I take him to court and get him put behind bars or at least put on the registry, but that isn't how things turned out. All because I kept my mouth shut for too long. This was not an easy script to make, but I felt the need to put my story out there. I feel that the more people I tell about what happened to me, the less it seems to weigh me down. Someone once told me that keeping things like this to yourself allows it to have power over you. Well, it still affects me to this day in a way that I don't know if I'll ever be able to have a normal love life. At the very least, let my story spread awareness for victims of what was done to me. With that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Make sure to drink water, keep yourself safe, know that you're loved and appreciated, and I will see you lovelies in the next one.